take a moment to review the disclosures. We'll start momentarily. Hey guys, welcome back. So I want to talk about a company today that I think is genuinely one of the more interesting research stories out there right now. Not because of any short-term move, but because of what this business is actually building and where it's headed. The ticker is AYG, Voyager Technologies. It's Denver-based, listed on the NYSE, and honestly, it's one of those rare companies where the more you dig in, the more interesting it gets. So let's start with the basics. Voyager was founded in 2019, went public in 2025, and operates across three distinct business segments: defense and national security, space solutions, and Starlab, which is their commercial space station project. Now, what makes this interesting isn't any one of those segments on its own, it's the combination. Three engines of growth. Let's walk through each one. On the defense side, Voyager builds the kind of hardware that the US military is increasingly prioritizing: missile defense interceptors, hypersonic reentry systems, AI-powered signal intelligence platforms, radiation-hardened communications. And this segment is growing fast. In the fourth quarter of 2025, defense and national security revenue grew 63% year over year. That's not a slow, steady defense contractor kind of number. That's a company hitting an inflection point. Their space solutions segment handles propulsion systems, orbital servicing, deep space navigation, and AI-enabled space infrastructure software. This is where the ExoTerra acquisition really matters. We'll get into that in a second. And then there's Starlab, a majority-owned commercial space station being built in joint venture with Airbus, Mitsubishi Corporation, and MDA Space. It's designed to be the commercial successor to the International Space Station, which is currently scheduled to retire around 2030. And pharmaceutical companies are already pre-booking payload slots. This is not a concept, it's an operating program with 31 NASA milestones completed and $56 million in milestone cash already received. Now let's move on to the next slide. Now, what gives Voyager its edge and why I think this isn't easily replicated comes down to four things. First, their AI-powered edge computing systems. We're talking GPU-accelerated ISR platforms that harden artificial intelligence into battlefield-ready hardware, fusing signals from satellites, sensors, and networks faster than any human decision loop. That's genuinely hard to build. Second, and this one's important, their electric in-space propulsion capability from the ExoTerra acquisition. Hall effect thruster technology for satellite maneuvering, orbital servicing, and Golden Dome interceptor kill vehicles. Very few companies have this in-house. Third, radiation-hardened laser and RF communication systems that are certified for the harshest orbital environments. You can't just buy that off a shelf. And then fourth, the platform itself. 5 acquisitions in 2025 brought propulsion, energetics, advanced electronics, and space science all under one roof. They're spending nearly 22% of revenue on R&D. And the Starlab construction cost alone, somewhere between $2.8 and $3.3 billion, is a barrier to entry that essentially no startup can replicate. That's not a moat, that's a fortress. All right, let's move to the next slide. Competition. This is where it gets interesting. When you look at where Voyager sits relative to other names in the space, Lockheed, Northrop, SpaceX, Axiom, the thing that jumps out is that nobody else is doing all three of these things at once at small cap scale. Lockheed and Northrop have large, mature defense programs, but they don't own a commercial space station and they outsource much of their in-space propulsion. SpaceX is focused on launch and Axiom is developing its own station, but neither is building the kind of AI-powered signal intelligence systems that Voyager fields. Pure-play new space companies carry execution risk that Voyager's government-backed programs help offset. Voyager is the only publicly traded company, in my view, that is combining majority commercial space station ownership, next-gen defense technology, and proprietary in-space propulsion all under one roof. That combination is genuinely unique. Okay, a couple more slides to go and we're almost done. Okay, let's dive into growth drivers and risks. On the growth side, the big catalyst that's not even in the 2026 revenue guidance yet is Golden Dome, the US. Missile defense architecture that Voyager is positioning itself to supply. We're talking about a $1.6 billion total addressable market. Any contract award from that program is pure upside on top of what's already guided. Add to that the record backlog of $265.6 million, up 33% year over year, which represents genuine signed demand momentum. The company has guided 2026 revenue at $225 to $255 million, which implies 35 to 53% growth. And longer term, the microgravity economy is a real emerging market. Pharma companies are beginning to manufacture drugs in zero gravity because the molecular behavior is different. Starlab is a prime venue for that business post 2030. Now, I always want to be straight about the risk too. Voyager is pre-profitability. Adjusted EBITDA loss was about $70 million in 2025. Starlab financing is still being structured, and a $2.80 to $3.3 billion construction program is not without execution risk. Revenue is also heavily concentrated in government contracts, which means any budget freeze or policy change at the DoD or NASA level has a direct impact, and integrating 5 acquisitions in a single year, while impressive strategically, is operationally pretty demanding. These are real risks and definitely worth watching. Moving on to the final slide of this video. Finally, here we are. This is the last slide that I wanted to go over with you all. So what's the long-term story here? The way I think about Voyager is as a company sitting at the intersection of 2 of the most significant secular trends in the next decade: the defense modernization cycle and the commercialization of space. Both of those tailwinds are just getting started. The defense modernization cycle is real and accelerating. Geopolitical tensions are pushing the US and its allies to prioritize AI, hypersonics, and space-based defense systems. Voyager is not a legacy contractor trying to adapt. They're purpose-built for this environment. Starlab, if it executes, becomes one of the most important commercial infrastructure assets in the world post-2030. There will be 1 or 2 commercial space stations after the ISS retires. Voyager owns the majority of what's currently a leading program. And from an acquisition standpoint, this is where it gets interesting. The technology stack Voyager has assembled: proprietary propulsion, AI-powered SIGINT, a majority-owned space station. That's a shopping list for a number of large defense and technology primes. L3 Harris would gain commercial space and AI Edge ISR capability overnight. Booz Allen Hamilton gets a direct extension into Voyager's signal intelligence platform. Airbus is already a joint venture partner and could consolidate Starlab ownership. General Dynamics would leapfrog competition in the space defense stack. And Palantir, which is already actively collaborating on Starlab's AI operations layer, has a strategic fit that's hard to ignore. The backlog entering 2026 is at a record. Revenue is on a trajectory toward $470 million by 2028 if guidance holds and growth continues. This is a company worth understanding deeply, and that's what we're here to do. Okay, that brings us to the end of this video. As always, do your own research, understand your own risk tolerance, and if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.